Hi everyone and welcome to the Kim K. Curry podcast. I'm Kim Curry and I'm really excited to chat with our guest today. I've been wanting for a long time to pick her brains and get into deep discussions. The lovely Kira Corbett, she lives on the road with her family, her husband and her two beautiful children. She's got a fantastic web page and social media, living on the Keeping Up with the Corbetts, which I'll put a link that you guys can connect with later on. I'm really can't wait to dig in deep and find out how this all came about, Kira. So welcome to the program and thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel really honoured and very, very special to be a part of this with you, and especially to be the first one. I mean,
I know, it's fantastic. I've been dying to chat and get into this for a long time with you. So you were really, one of the first few people. I immediately said, come on, let's do this, let's get it done, let's have a chat and share it with the world. So before we get a little bit into your life on the road, because I know you actually live on the road with your family, which all sorts of things people talk about wanting to do, but they don't ever actually do. Tell me a little bit about your background and a little bit about Kira.
Okay. So I come originally as a child, I was brought up on the land. So I have a very deep connection, I suppose, with not just country life, but also having that feeling of freedom. Our cattle property was 84,000 acres, so it was very, very big. We had thousands and thousands of head of cattle. So I lived my life riding motorbikes and horses and traveling around, going to camp drafts and all that kind of stuff. When I moved away from home, which we all have to do when we grow up, I moved south and also went on to another little property and married my husband, had a couple of kids, lights of my life as they are, drive me insane most days, as I do them as well. But and we notice now, like when we look back, we kind of have been moving the whole time that we've sort of been married, from Queensland down to New South Wales, over to WA, and then back to Queensland again, just from job to job. And we kind of looked at each other one day when everything went south in a job, and we felt extremely insecure in our life because we felt like there was this constant, like, vicious circle of earning, spending, earning, spending, earning, spending. And then, you'd have your 4 weeks at the end of the year where you get to go on holidays and you get to spend time with your family. And we never got to do that half the time because most of the time we didn't have the money to do it. Yeah. And we kind of thought to ourselves, well, what's the point? I don't get it. Like, I really don't get it. What is the point? So I suppose my childhood definitely led me into this, just having that feeling of wanting to create a freedom, and I definitely, as I say to everyone, I have not got my shit sorted out. Like, I'm still learning, like, very much so, but that's what it's all about. Like, connecting with amazing people like yourself and other entrepreneurs out there as well, is just a beautiful thing. And I feel I can do it more freely in my own space now that we have, ideally freedom, really.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about that time where, before you got on the road, when, as you said, you were going kind of job to job and paycheck to paycheck without that real secure financial future. We're all told that if we get a job and work really hard, it's ours to have, but it seems like it never really happens. When that last job came up and fell through and didn't work out, and you really had that real insecurity of what do we do now, how did you make the decision to what many people would think would be an even more insecure way of life to move your family into a caravan and live on the road, where you don't have job security? How did you move from that real devastation of, oh my God, this hasn't worked out, the job hasn't worked out, what do we do next?
Yeah, well, great question. It was absolute, I have to be honest, it was a massive amount of turmoil for a very small period there, because we actually didn't have time to dwell on the situation. We had literally moved into a house because we did a lot of jobs where the housing and property was supplied to us as a part of our wage. So, we went through the whole stage of owning the house, the white picket fence, the dog, the cat, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But when you work on the land, it's definitely a little bit different in the sense that you get the house, you get, sometimes a car. So basically our whole entire lives have kind of always been entangled in other people's lives, so we're constantly kind of relying on housing, money, car, and all those kind of things from the jobs that we actually chose. So when this job, same situation, we'd literally been there 3 months, great prospect, and they just rocked up one day and said, you've got a week to be out of this house.
No.
And we just went, what are you talking about? And it was massive, and I spent a couple of days crying in my pillow, having no idea what on earth I was going to do.
Yeah.
Because we had a very small savings, and incredibly, the week before that, we'd gone up and actually put a deposit on a caravan because for 11 years, oh look, I got goosebumps. For 11 years. So this is where it all comes together, and when we look back on our life now, myself and my husband, we go, oh my God, that happened, and then that happened, and then that happened, and that felt really shit at the time, and we didn't know what we were going to do, and then we turned around and went, well, we're just going to do this, every little thing just lines up if you're willing to take a chance, and and we just kind of went, well, we've got a caravan, we're not homeless, so luckily we were in a position where we really didn't have a lot of debt. And if it's one thing that I could say to anyone who's wanting to have that feeling of freedom, because we talk a lot about freedom, and it took me a really long time to really actually even grasp the concept of what it was everyone was looking for.
Yeah.
And all it is a feeling. At the end of the day, it's just a feeling, isn't it? You wake up in the morning and you just feel like, oh my God, this day is mine and I can go and do whatever I want with it, so we kind of went, you know what, we've been talking about this for 11 years.
Wow.
What are we going to do? Continue to talk about it? And one of the things that I love to tell people is when we were actually looking for our caravan, obviously most of the caravans that we would go and look at were owned by retiree people, elderly people, and every single one of them, makes me emotional thinking about it. Every one of them had the same story. We just left our run too late. He got sick. We have to sell the caravan now. We always wanted to travel Australia. We wanted to go here. We wanted to do that, yous are so smart for doing this when you're young. But see, we're told the opposite. We're told we have to work, and then hopefully we might have 10 or 20 years to go and do the things that we really want to do.
And have the health to be able to do that.
That's exactly right. And in this day and age, it's it's not looking good.
It doesn't always happen. That's fantastic.
No, that's right.
I love that synchronicity of how even in the deepest, darkest moments of that time where you've got nowhere to live, you've got nowhere to go, the synchronicity that the week before that you bought that caravan, but to be able to, in that moment of darkness, for want of a better way to explain that, to be able to then see another opportunity and jump at that opportunity and then go kind of, oh, how lucky are we that
Yeah.
even though it felt like your life was falling apart, it was actually just leading you to where you really wanted to be, and that real happiness that I know that you guys live now. So tell me a little bit about what your life is like now.
Oh, well, actually at the moment, I don't know whether you can see the background, but I've got a massive big like veggie patch in the background. So we kind of like have just stopped in a place where we used to live when we lived the, you know, the grown up life with the house and all of that kind of stuff. And we came back here, and we were my husband's parents still live here, so we were just parked up in their backyard for a little while because we're actually planning a trip up to the Cape in pretty well exactly a month's time. So it's a bit wet up there. I don't know whether you know, like it's wet season up there at the moment, so we're like, we're just going to park up for a little while around here. And so since we've been here, this is a perfect example. So many people ask me, oh my God, you know, like, how do you even afford to do what you do? Okay, first of all, it costs way less money to live on the road than what it does to have a mortgage, to have your kids in every sports activity, to have them registered in school. Obviously, we do unschooling. To do all of these things that are apparently life. So we parked up here, and all of a sudden we've just had, you know, friends coming in. Oh, we're going away for a week. Would you come over and house sit for us? And so, you know, like it wasn't something that we asked to do. It just showed up, you know. And we just are so very grateful for these kind of things. My husband's actually off on a job at the moment, driving a truck. So we are really never without. And as I say to everyone, our biggest expense is fuel. So we just stop. You just stop driving, you know, like if everything starts to get a little bit low, you just stop driving.
And have you found it hard to pick up work or pick up jobs or make a living? Because I know most people who talk about wanting to do what you guys do, even if it's only 1 or 2 years, they don't have the savings, but they don't have the confidence that they're going to be able to find work or create an income while they're on the road to support, you know, you need fuel, you still need to eat, you know, we all still like to have our phones and all those other few bills that come in. How hard or easy has it been to be able to, you know, still have some money come in?
Well, I think that's a super important question. And at the end of the day, as I say to everyone, I think that when it comes to especially having an income, you have to change this first. And that's probably a little bit deep, but in the sense of, you know, you can't be going out there and going on shopping sprees if that was, you know, who you were before. You know, you need to get to a place where a simplistic life, and that doesn't mean a you know, living out of the rubbish bin kind of a life. We buy organic fruit and veggies. We live a very healthy and fulfilling life. But you need to change that mindset. You need to really redirect the way that you're actually, and I know this because that's what we were doing. You know, we were spending our money on really quite ridiculous things to, you know, keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. But in saying that, no, we really haven't had any struggles in finding work. I mean, there's some great websites out there, and I'm constantly sharing stuff on my page as well. And I think I've even redirected you to a couple of them, Kim, because I know this is like right up your alley. You love this kind of stuff. But yeah, Grey Nomads and Traveling Australia with Kids. There's fruit picking jobs there. I did fruit picking. Okay. Look, I really wouldn't recommend fruit picking unless you're getting paid by the hour, because man, that shit is hard.
So how do they pay you? Do they pay you by the basket or something, do they? Or weight?
They pay you by the bin.
Wow.
Like, so they pay you by the bin. And this is like I've done pretty labor intensive work all of my life, and I was probably a little bit younger 10 years ago, but still, I'm pretty, I'm a bit of a spring chicken.
I know.
So, like,
strong woman. You're a strong, healthy woman.
oh, well, thank you. Back in my past life, yes. But yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, we got this. We'll go out and pick ourselves a few crates, $25 a crate or whatever it is. I turned up and the crate is the size of my caravan. Well, it wasn't really, but it definitely felt that way when you're putting oranges this big into this massive big crate. And then you have to split that crate with your partner. Who wasn't my husband.
Yeah.
So, well, I did a week's work and I earned $260. And you know what? I'm forever grateful for that $260 because it definitely helped us where we were at that point in time.
Yeah.
But, like my husband and I really try to make really conscious choices now in the sense of, does this really light us up? Does this really make us happy? Are these the things that we're really going to grow from and learn from? And I tell you what, I 100% grew for those 2 weeks that I was doing it. And I was like, and I learned something too. I am not a fruit picker. No way.
I'll make sure I don't do any fruit picking.
Send hubby out. He'll love it.
Awesome. And the thing that I'm finding really I'm hearing with what you're saying is that you really have the faith and the trust and the synchronicity of life that it's all going to be okay, and that you accept that it's all going to be okay, that it's all going to work out. Because I know you do have 2 kids, you have to feed, support, clothe them, and as a parent that's a big responsibility. But it sounds like both you and your husband Scott really are tapping into that trust and that faith and synchronicity that it will all be okay. How does that work?
Well, I think, like at the end of the day, we all do that in our life anyway, don't we? I mean, it's a reason that we can just, as I said before, we used to travel around a lot and we used to just pick our kids up from their school and, every 6 months or something, we might be moving again. So that when we obviously already had that in our life where we really, truly believed that we were just willing to give it a go and just see where it took us. And I think, what you said about, having kids, it's one thing to travel around and, be reckless, which is another word, that, as a couple or by yourself, but when you have children, I mean, look, honestly, it was, as I said, massive turmoil. And I still have my days sometimes where I'm just like, are we doing the right thing for our kids? Letting them to be, be so free. And that's where I have to stop myself and go, oh my God, like how have we gotten into a place where we believe that our children need to be, locked in a room or stuck here or put over there or all of these things where they're not just supposed to be these free, unique little individuals to grow? Because look, in the 10 months, we've been doing this 10 months now, in the 10 months that we've been traveling and unschooling the kids, I have seen my kids grow at such a rapid rate and in a way that is just so beautiful because you start to see them. Yeah. You don't see everything else that's been pushed on them or the boxes that they're supposed to fit in or the pressures. The pressure that my daughter, she had so much pressure on it. She's 10, so she was 8, 9 years old when she was in school or whatever. Well, she went to school before that, but and she just had so much stress and pressure on her, the poor little thing, and it broke my heart. And I'm just like, this doesn't feel okay. And I think this is a big part of it, is we have become so disconnected to our feelings and what is real, like what is real is how we feel. If something feels really crappy and you're doing something just to make money, I'm sorry, but it will never be anything than just some money on a table. It will never be anything else. Pieces of plastic, as my kids say, you know, but it's just pieces of plastic, Mum, you know. But I also understand that we need that, and it's a really, really special and important thing. I know I referred you to the podcast, the thingy thing that's on Facebook at the moment, and I'm learning so much from that, you know, just in ways of, you know, really opening yourself up to being a vessel for that kind of thing, and looking at everything in a really different light to just the generic pay the bills, you know, wake up, go to sleep. And like, really, honestly, at the end of the day, how much time do we actually ever get to spend with our children? Do we ever know them when they're ready to leave our home? Do we even know who they are or what they want to do with their life?
No.
It's just scary.
It is. I was lucky enough I homeschooled, my daughter's in school now, but a couple of years ago I homeschooled for a couple of years, and it was a beautiful thing to be able to, I learnt and discovered my daughter and who she was in a much deeper way that I never would have been able to have that opportunity if she was away from me every day at school. And it's a beautiful, beautiful gift that to be able to do that. And I love to see that you do that. I do, even though my daughter's in school, I regularly take her out. Last year we took her out for 8 weeks and went travelling through the top end of Australia. Really, that connection that you have with your children, if you wait till they're adults, it's too late. You've missed the boat. It's gone. And I love that that's what you're doing. And I can see that through your social media posts is the real love and joy that you guys have as a family, and that connection is a beautiful thing and something really valuable and to be treasured.
I totally agree. And look, that's not a judgment thing either. I just want to say that, you know, people who send their children to school, that is not a judgment thing. This is what is right for us. As I say to everyone, this lifestyle is not for everyone, you know, like, because some people feel secure in a house. They feel secure doing their day-to-day things, and that is completely okay. But for us, I really have to ask is, are we so disconnected with our family life? We have these beautiful little children, and then we become so disconnected with them in the sense of, first off, sending them to daycare, and then we're sending them to school, and then we're sending them to university, and then we're sending them out to work. I just think we've almost become breeders of humanity rather than nurturers, you know, like, and that may be a bit hippie for some people, but it's just my belief, and that's all it is.
I like it.
Me too.
I got a good bit of hippie in me. So probably as you know, so for those that are listening, my husband and our daughter, we've just bought a van ourselves, and we're off embarking and leaving in about 6 weeks to go travelling across the top end, and we'll end up moving and living on the other side of Australia. So we're pretty much giving up and selling absolutely everything we own, which is a process in itself. But one of the things that's really, it shouldn't have surprised me, but it has come up, is how many people are concerned and negative. We're doing the wrong thing. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Did you get much of that when you guys decided, this is how we wanted to lead our life?
Oh, did we get much of that? We still get that. Very much so. But, you know, it's just like everything. You're never, ever going to please everyone. And if that is what your goal is in life, well, then don't be an adventurer. Don't be an explorer. Definitely don't want a life of freedom. Whatever you do, do not become an entrepreneur. You know, there's so many things in life that you just should not do if you're going to follow the status quo and worry about what other people think. And, you know, like, I know you have done a bit of David Wood stuff as well, and I know he says in that, you know, why are you taking advice from he says broke, unhappy people, but why are you taking advice from the people that have lives that you're trying to get away from, you know? So I just think, you know, just go for it, buddy. You know, like I know where I'm at, and I love where I'm at, and I know my kids are thriving, and I know my husband's happy, and you know what? It's all good. We are all different, and that is A-okay.
Great advice, because I know it is. It can be at hard times to shake off, especially when I find a lot of it comes from our really close friends and closest loved ones. They tend to have the biggest voice of negativity, for want of a better word. And it is just kind of shaking. Look, I really appreciate and understand you're coming from a place of concern, but we're really okay, and we're going to be okay with that. That it's really, you really need to do and shake it off. So I was gonna
absolutely
really loving being able to chat with you, Kira. I've been dying to do this for ages, because it is, you know, because we lead so much of the same sort of thing and wanting to lead a life of freedom. And when I saw that that's what you guys chose to do, there's so many people out there that might feel a little bit trapped or have dreams of being able to retire at the age of 60 or 65 and travel Australia. But, you know, they're getting that little pull within them to going, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. What kind of, what can you, the best hints or tips or something, suggestions, what can you do to help them get started on this journey?
Well, you know, like, I just think that for me, as I said before, everyone is different, and this life may not be for you. Like, there's no one in my family that does what we do, you know, and we're all related. So I couldn't assume that other people out there that aren't even in my bloodline would, or yours or whatever, is going to, you know, want to do exactly what we do. But I think that if you actually reconnect to what you truly want and what you feel is freedom in your life, you know, freedom for some people is just sitting out in the backyard with their cup of coffee and a drawing pad and just sketching. You know, freedom for some people is, and this is where we really connected to ours, was we found that every time we had a spare moment in our life, we were packing bags and we were going bush. Like, that's just what we were doing. Like, there was nobody telling us to do it. There was no reason we were doing it except for the internal pull to want to. And I'll tell you right now that the only reason people don't do it is because of fear and scared of not, you know, knowing what is out there, knowing what is going to happen, knowing how they're going to make their money or pay their bills or do all of those things. But I truly believe, and I know you definitely come from this space as well, in the fact that if you actually are really aligned with what you want to do in your life, everything around you will work really hard to make sure you have it. That does not mean that you're not going to have shitty times. Everyone thinks, you know, just because, you know, you're aligned and everything's beautiful and rainbows and unicorns, it's not. We have shit days too, you know, like, absolutely. But, you know, like, I read this great quote one day about 4 months in, and literally about 4 months in, we just had one thing after another happen. Like, we literally left where we were with about $6,000 in our bank account. So that was our savings. We didn't have a massive savings, but we had no debt. Massive. It's a massive thing. We had no debt, you know, like, so then we were just like, one thing after another started happening. The bloody car, like, it just started doing all this random shit and costing us a lot of money. And I was just like, what are we doing? This is ridiculous. Oh my God, how are we going to do this? We're just going to go through all of our savings. Like, oh my God, freaking out, you know, because that's what we do best. We just freak out and that kind of stuff. And I read this great quote that said, just on that day, like, this is just a beautiful thing, you know, the way everything works. Open it up. First thing that comes up on my Facebook page is, what's happening in your life right now is there just to see how committed you are to what you really want in your life. And I just went, boom, we're fixing this car and we're driving. Awesome. And you know what? it's just how it is. You know, it's all about the attitude that you have and the commitment you have to what you really want to do, and that's the only thing that will get you through.
Awesome. And I think that's what really shines the most with you and your family is, as you say, it's that internal pull to go and live your life in a certain way, however that may be. It doesn't have to be doing what you're doing. It could be, you know, I've got friends that have become artists. I've got other friends that have gone and become midwives because that's their pull that they've wanted to do.
Beautiful.
And being able to just do that, and that's, to me, hugely inspiring, is to be able to see you guys do that, and it inspires me to have the courage to keep listening to that internal pull, and despite the fear, despite all the resistance that inevitably comes up with everyone, to keep taking those steps, following that internal pull and following that curiosity. So I love it. And thank you so much for sharing so much of this journey with us today and on your social, all through your social media. So thank you so much. So for those that are listening and watching, you can actually follow Kira and Scott's and their family journey on their page, Keeping Up with the Corbetts. I will put a link to make it really nice and easy. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and yourself and your day with us today. I'm really grateful, and being my very first interviewee. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. And I know, looking at where you are, you're going to have an awesome day.
Oh, thank you, beautiful. It is so nice to connect with you again, because I just love what you're doing out there. You know, you're such an amazing entrepreneur and really inspiring people to want to get out there and do more of what's connected to their soul and what's pulling them. So I just think you're an absolute gem. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for hopping on and watching and listening. And hope you all have a fabulous day.
Bye.